It's your brother Ben X. I'm live with brother Tariq Muhammad, and we're going to be talking about the original man, scientific, and we're going to be talking about the Navy beam, and we're going to be talking about other things that can be done with the Navy beam. We know that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad brought to us from Master Fard Muhammad the importance of the Navy beam, and being that so many people have their cell phones around them, probably like myself, cell phones, computers, all kind of radiation. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, during one of his lectures, talked about the importance of the Navy beam and how that Navy beam is able to help you fight off that radiation as well. That's another benefit of having the Navy beam in our repertoire. So I want to share a video before we get into this podcast today, where we go into the many things that can be done with the Navy beam that many of us probably never even thought about. I want to lead it off with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan talking about the value of the Navy beam. Check it out.
But America, Allah is the best of planners. Elijah Muhammad came and taught us how to eat to live. Master Fard told Elijah Muhammad how to teach us. And your Quran tells you that when the Messiah comes, he will teach you what foods to eat and what foods to store in your houses. The Prophet Muhammad did not teach you that. He gave you foods that were given in the Torah as well for the Jews. But to teach you how to weather the storm of radiation. You got your cell phone? You like your cell phone? Radiation. You put it on your hip. We buried a brother last year, one of the Muslims who had cancer. He said, I used to carry my cell phone right on my belt, and he ended up with cancer of the organs in this area. Johnny Cochran died, cancer of the brain, always taking calls. You're all so busy when you didn't have no damn phone except in your house. You had to wait till you went home. But today you busy, and every 5 minutes you on a phone. More radiation. You can't cook your food no more. You drop it in the microwave, radiation. You sit in front of the television, radiation. You got your iPod, your iPad, your computer, radiation. Go to the airport, come through this machine, radiation. You get a cough, you go get a chest x-ray, radiation. You say, I need a MRI, radiation. I need a CAT scan, radiation. So you're eating radiated foods, but you're eating all kind of times a day. Elijah Muhammad said 1 meal a day. A good meal to give your blood time to build up strength to cast the toxins out of your body. He said, get that beam, that Navy beam, that natural beam. The pulse in it will ward off the effects of radiation. But you don't like Muslim food from Elijah Muhammad. Well, die then. You can't let a man from God teach you how to save your life, then die. The world will be better off with you being eaten by a damn worm. I know it's rough, but what the hell, I'm the teacher today. You just need somebody that ain't going to sugarcoat nothing for your raggedy behind. You need somebody to tell it to you straight. You got these milquetoast, punctified teachers that want your money and your favor, but they don't want the favor of God. I don't give a damn about your favor.
Woo! Man, I don't know no better way to open up. I don't know no better way to open up with something from the minister like that, man. So now that the minister got your spirit together, now that the minister got your spirit right where it need to be, we're going to bring on the brother that does the research, that does the science, and going to give us a little bit more detail about this Navy bean. And if you have any questions inside of your mind, feel free to ask in the comment section, because this is the brother that you want to ask. So go ahead and unmute yourself, brother. Come on and introduce yourself. Let us know who you are.
Yes, sir. So my name is Brother Tariq. Well, first and foremost, thank you for the opportunity to be on the platform. My name is Brother Tariq Muhammad. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of Original Man Scientific, which is a Black-owned research and development company based here in Virginia. My background is in biomedical research science with a concentration on cardiovascular pathobiology, which is simply put the study of how diseases form in the heart and blood vessels.
So I want to go into the Navy bean first, because before the call, you talked about other things that can be done with the Navy bean besides just eating the Navy bean, as the minister talked about. What else have you discovered about the Navy bean that many people don't know about?
Yeah, so, well, just to kind of give you a backstory, when I was in high school, I would say my junior year of high school, I had an idea to develop a product that could unclog the arteries. And I wanted to use the Navy bean. I didn't want to, I just wanted to use something I was familiar with, something I grew up on. You know, I'm a bean soup baby. I'm not ashamed of that. That the bean has done tremendous things for my family. It has allowed us to continue with our lives in a certain way. And when I say a certain way, just like the minister described, it allowed us to, it gave us a foundation so that if we were to get sick, or if something was to happen, we have a stronger chance of fighting it. If it was radiation, if it was any kind of disease that would come about, it would eliminate the chances or decrease the chances of that deleterious action from taking place. So one of the things that I put together, which is pretty much the first ever thing I ever decided to put together for the Navy bean, was a enzyme. It's an enzyme that I mixed the Navy beans with a beneficial bacteria, and I created an entirely different product. And that product is used to bust open blood clots. So that product is set to be, more information on that product is set to be released next month. But in terms of things that don't go inside the body, there are things like plastics, things like renewable energy, biofuels. These are some of the things that we've taken the initiative to develop in the Navy Bean Experimental Research Station, which is a program that was inspired by the work of Dr. George Washington Carver and the things that he did with the soybean, the peanut, and the sweet potato. I didn't want the nation or our people to rely on the Navy bean just for food. I wanted us to be able to look at the bean as a resource for many things, so that we don't have to keep incorporating outside entities or forces when we have sources of our own that we can use and build from.
Now, when you said plastics, are you saying like we can make plastic out of the Navy bean?
Absolutely. You can make plastic out of anything that is primarily a starch. So just to kind of break it down, a plastic is a multi-polymer molecule in a sense. So it has many different strains, or not strains, many different chains that, link them together. So when you're dealing with plastic, you want a material that'll last long, and you can use starch as a base to create a stable product that would, stick around and not degrade and waste away over time. And when it does waste away, it's biodegradable. It's not something that would harm the environment or anything like that.
Now there was a brother who spoke on his Instagram. It was a brother who was like up in his 90s. He said that Master Fard Muhammad used to come to his home when he was about 6 years old, and one of the things that he did is pretty much what the minister told us, that he took all the medicines out of their home. And once he took all the medicines out of their home, he replaced it with navy beans. So can you talk about some of the sicknesses? Because many of our people are dealing with sickness, and also, we've been taught and know that a lot of the COVID-19 situations, which I don't know if you'll get into that, they say came from pre-existing conditions. So if we can solve and help some of these pre-existing conditions, then we may not be so prone to what's going on today. So what are some sicknesses or illnesses that can be cured or treated with the navy bean?
Absolutely. So, and that's a great question. Back in the time where the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was among us, and this truth still reigns today, is that 3 of the most common diseases or disorders that Black people deal with today are heart disease, diabetes, cancer, or anything dealing with inflammation. Now, when it comes to the navy bean has all 9 essential amino acids for human nutrition. An essential amino acid is something that we have to obtain or get from food. It doesn't naturally occur in the body. Now, I'm going to go on to the diabetes aspect. So diabetes is a condition where, okay, I want you to picture it like this. Imagine the pancreas. The pancreas is one of the master glands in the human body. It's responsible for regulating blood sugar when you consume food. On the surface of those pancreas, on the surface of the pancreas are cells called beta cells, and they form an inlet of Langerhans. That's the term for those group of cells. When those cells are damaged in any way, it's harder for the pancreas to stabilize the blood sugar. So what the navy bean does, the navy bean sees that problem, sees that issue, and it corrects it by helping to lower the dietary sugar intake that we take when we're eating food. When we eat the navy bean, not only does it lower the sugar, it creates an environment for the pancreas to do its job. So it doesn't allow the pancreas to do too little or too much. So that's how it helps with diabetes in the simplest of forms. Now with heart disease.
Before we go to that next question, there is something I want to ask, because people may say, well, the brother got them bean pies and they be putting sugar in the bean pie. So my question, now that you said that, does that help balance it out because it's actually made of beans? Because some people may say, oh man, that's super unhealthy. You making it with sugar, you make it with that. So does the navy bean balance it out? And if so, can you go into that a little bit?
Absolutely. So yes, sir. So the navy bean, when mixed with anything, changes the entire chemical makeup of what it is that you're eating. So say, for example, the bean soup, right? The bean soup, the navy bean doesn't give the soup its value by itself. The navy bean, in conjunction with the celery, the carrots, or anything else that goes into the navy bean soup, they all work together to give you that nutritional value. The navy bean is not a lone wolf in a sense when it comes to nutrition. Same thing with the bean pie. And the bean pie is not, in as much as some of us don't like to admit it, the navy bean is not something that the navy bean pie is not something that you should be eating as much as you should be eating the bean soup.
Right.
The navy bean pie is a treat. It's a dessert. It's something that is something that's supposed to help us replace what we were using, which was the sweet potato pie, the pumpkin pie. But it's not something you're supposed to be eating all the time like you would navy bean soup. That's a dessert. That's a treat. That's a almost like a luxury in a sense.
So in other words, when we read if the babies eat the beans, the Navy beans, they'll live to 240. He wasn't talking about eat bean pie every day, y'all. That's basically what he's saying.
Right. Exactly. And that the sugar that we put in the bean pie as well, we can monitor that the type of sugar that we use. Use raw brown sugar instead. Don't use the cancerous processed white sugar. That stuff isn't good for you. But that I'll go into that a little bit later if time allows.
Yes, sir. So go ahead with what you was doing, what you was explaining.
Absolutely. So I was just talking about how the navy bean helps with certain diseases. So I want to go into heart disease, which still remains the #1 killer among not only Black people but around the world. And that was one of the inspirations behind the first product I had put together for the navy bean, which is finally coming together and will be ready soon. But when it comes to heart disease, one of the things that kills people the most is heart attacks. So a heart attack, simply put, is when the heart itself needs to have its own blood supply before it does anything else. So when you have a blockage in the heart's own blood supply, then you get what's called a heart attack. And in that heart attack, the blockage is made of so many different things that are found in the blood and things that you have put into your body from the food you eat. So what the navy bean does is acts almost like a vacuum in a sense. It helps to remove the blockages, and it does that by stabilizing the amount of blood, the compounds in the blood that contribute to that. It helps stabilize that, and then it sends signals to the other components in the blood that are responsible for helping to clean that stuff out. So different types of white blood cells that eat away things that don't belong in your body, platelets. It helps to migrate those things out the way so that your heart can be restored, or so that your overall circulatory system, just the way your blood flows throughout your body, can maintain its proper function.
Do you recall what Sister Ava Muhammad recently said about COVID-19 and diabetes?
Yes, sir.
What did she say?
So she was just explaining to everyone that diabetes is one of I can't remember verbatim, but she was just explaining how that underlying condition contributes to how we recover from COVID-19.
So with that, what is the difference between insulin and the navy bean? Because, a lot of people say, you got to get your insulin. Some people say they got to have certain sweets at a certain time. I don't know all the details on that. But what is the differences in the combat with the navy bean and then somebody who say, man, I need to do the insulin route?
So insulin is just a hormone. Insulin is the hormone that regulates the sugar, which is the glucose. So insulin is something that when I was explaining about the pancreas and those cells on the surface, they release that insulin, and that insulin is supposed to grab the glucose by the neck and be like, look, you need to calm down. So with insulin, and when people say, oh no, I'd rather do the insulin route, that's the most available product that they have that can give them a immediate reaction or immediate result from whatever sugar attack that they're having at the moment. So the navy bean, what the navy bean does, and it does this with the starch, the proteins, the minerals that it has, it helps the pancreas control the amount of insulin that is released from those cells to control the sugar levels in the blood. It also reduces the sugar content in the blood. As not only does it help the pancreas, it goes after the sugar itself. So you're dealing with two different methods of alleviating somebody with diabetes that has these problems. So, just to kind of wrap that aspect up, the navy bean is a food that's meant to match us. So whatever it is that our body naturally does, the navy bean is meant to keep that going. It's the most compatible food that we have. It's supposed to keep everything that we do to ourselves at a minimum. I'm not saying it's gonna you know, don't let me put it this way. Don't eat navy bean soup and then turn around and have cheeseburgers, French fries, this, that, and the third, just because you know the navy bean is going to protect you. That's not how it works. You got to make sure that you're on the navy bean. It has to be the framework, the skeleton of your nutrition and your diet.
So if I can dumb it down, it's easy where I can see it. Diabetes is when your body naturally takes the sugar and I'm gonna say maybe stabilize it, grabs it by the neck and say, hold on, don't go too far. And so what happens is when you have diabetes, something inside of you, I guess, weakens to where it can't grab onto the sugar as it should, right?
Exactly. So go ahead, bro.
And so the navy bean would not only help your body naturally grab onto it, but it also tell the sugar, hey, don't do it. So now it's doing two things at the same time.
Exactly. When we're eating food, say for example, our diet is consumed mainly of fast foods and things that are not good for us. What it's doing, the chemicals in those foods, whether it's meat, cheese, or whatever it is that you're eating, they're going after those cells on the surface of the pancreas. And what they're doing is they're interfering, or they're messing with the pancreas's natural ability to stabilize blood sugar. So not only does the bad food do two things at once, which is attack the cells and increase sugar content in your blood, the navy bean also does two things at once to help correct that. So if we can just remember, and I'm going to reiterate, if we can just remember that the navy bean is the best food and that it allows you to allows your body to continue to do what it naturally does, then there wouldn't be a need for medications. There wouldn't be a need for anything of that like. The navy bean is for your sustenance. And I started these products to emphasize that. They're not pharmaceuticals, they're not nutraceuticals. These are therapies that help what you currently do with your diet, that help the changes that you're making in your lifestyle to give you that extra boost. Because some of us are dealing with diabetes and heart disease in very severe circumstances, and we're not all going to be able to just use the bean soup to correct issues. We have to be able to wean ourselves off of that. And one of the ways we do it, or one of the ways I wanted to see it done, is with these products that we put together.
So in the future now, let's say we have a sister who's listening. We got a brother who's listening. Man, I've been having heart disease for, about 10 years now. What is the suggestion? Is the suggestion to, because we hear, man, he came and he took all the medication out. Is that the route that you recommend? Or is it like, okay, you stay on this medicine here, but start to implement maybe twice a day, once a day? Is there a certain amount? Because I know we eat 1 meal a day, but what about somebody who's already on a medication? Do they need to overload the navy bean, or do they still need to do one portion? If they do the one portion, is there a certain amount that they need to take in? Kind of explain that process of weaning off of the medication that they on.
Absolutely. So I have a lot of people that I've worked with that were able to do that with the navy bean. One of the things we have to understand with the navy bean is that it's not so much portion control. It's being able to follow the recommendations given by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in How to Live. Now, in terms of the medication, the first thing you need to do when it comes to weaning yourself off the medication is to first analyze or look into what's in your kitchen, what's in your cabinets, your refrigerator. Take out the things that you know is not in How to Live and replace it with the things that are. Now, if you're on medication and you're starting and you want to get yourself away from the insulin, away from whatever medication that you're on, start by, like you were saying, preparing the bean soup, taking yourself from whatever it is that you were doing to the bean soup. Continue to take your medication. And then as you keep taking the bean soup, observe how you're feeling. Observe how your need for the medication is decreased. Because if you eat the navy bean soup, and sometimes you'll have to eat it 3 times. If you have to eat it more than once, that's fine to kind of help level out. If you have to eat it more than one time during the day to help level out how much medication you have to take, fine. But as you go on, as you see the changes, then you start to eat less. Now that you see those changes in the medication, reduce the amount of medication you take. Continue to eat less. And keep doing it and doing it and doing it until you see the desired result, which is no longer taking the medication and no longer needing to eat as many times a day for that medication.
Now, in your studies, have you studied the preparation of the navy bean? Meaning, meaning, do you eat it whole? Do you I know some people say the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, what is the word called when you just you grind it all the way down? What's it, is it primate? What's it called?
Blending, puree,
Puree, yeah. So puree. So is there a certain way that you should eat it? I've also heard people say you shouldn't add the red sauce in it. Some people add you shouldn't add it. Some people say you can. So can you talk about the preparation? What's the proper preparation to get the best out of the navy bean when you're eating it?
Absolutely. So the navy bean, when you're eating it whole, which is not blended, you're eating it as you prepared it. That is the best way to eat the navy bean soup. Now, when you puree it or blend it, that's usually for people who are suffering from digestion issues like chewing problems. It's people that need to eat things via a straw, or if you're an infant or somebody that's young, a baby in a sense. That's mainly for what the blended version of the soup is for. But if you want to, if you're not dealing with any of those issues, or if you're not a baby or an infant, then the best way to eat the bean soup is whole. Now, some people just prefer to eat it like that because they don't like, the taste of all the vegetables and whatnot. And I understand that. But the best way to get all the minerals, all the value, nutritional value from the bean soup is to eat it whole.
Okay, this is a great question. I don't know if this is your field or not, but I'm going to ask anyway because I actually heard Dr. Africa say something like this. The question is, what disturbs me is that the Asiatic black man and woman is a different being, of course, than the Caucasian. So when tested for disease, are we being diagnosed properly? Because I think I heard Dr. Africa say something similar, like when it looks like our charts, their body is different, so their medicines and their tests and stuff is really made for their body. So when they see ours, it's always different. So have you seen anything like that to where, maybe they're diagnosing us wrong because our bodies or we are just different?
Yeah, yes, sir. So when it comes to diagnosing diseases, one of the things that is looked at is DNA. And we look at the family history. We look at how, now I'm not a physician, but I work with physicians. I do a lot of the medical research behind some of the cases. But one of the things that we look at, as I mentioned just now, is family history, DNA, how we eat, lifestyle, different things like that. Now, we all know that your family history is not going to be the same as, let me give you an example. It's not going to be the same as Donald Trump's son. It's just not the same, So when you look at the different disparities that black people have when it comes to health and lifestyle, those things are so much different in a general sense than those of our white counterparts. So when we understand that the lifestyle is different, the types of foods that we eat is different, it would be incumbent upon a physician who understands that important fact to really hone in on the individual and understand what they need as an individual and the information that they've provided versus using a general way of diagnosing. So yes, it can be misdiagnosed. Things can be misdiagnosed. Things can be poorly examined just based off the fact that we have some physicians and we have some medical institutions that just don't see I'm not going to say they don't see it. They just don't want to implement that type of care and treatment to black patients. So we got to be careful of the types of physicians that we go to, the types of institutions that we go to, and also understand the things that they're looking for when it comes to diagnosing a disease. The symptoms may be different. the way we respond to certain medications are different, because the medications themselves are made from certain types of human samples, and that's a whole nother show.
Yes, sir. Shout out to brother Josh Mason. Thank you for your consistent support. Let's go back to the heart disease real quick, because I got we got the diabetes down. We got that concept. Let's go back to the diabetes. So we got the diabetes is where your body's weakened. It can't get control of that sugar. The navy bean comes in, helps it get control of that sugar, helps it pretty much get a hold of that sugar, and it stops the sugar. So what does it do for the heart disease again? What does it do for the heart?
Absolutely. So one of the things it does for the heart, and when it comes to heart disease, I described earlier with the artery, that the blood supply to the heart being blocked in some kind of way. What it does in heart disease is a broad term for different types of diseases that go on in the heart. But the thing that affects the world the most is atherosclerotic heart disease, which is the plaque buildup, the clogging of the arteries. Those are the things that affects us the most, more than any other type of heart disease. So when it comes to that, the navy bean, there's a chemical in the different types of foods that we eat, or there's a chemical that forms inside the blood vessel called homocysteine. Homocysteine contributes to the weakening of the inner lining of the arterial wall, or the artery that supplies the blood to the heart. So what's happening is the navy bean lowers the homocysteine. It lowers anything that attacks the inner walls of those arteries. So in order for anything to cling to the wall, in order for anything to be attached to the wall in any kind of way, they have to weaken its base. They have to weaken the cells on the inside of that wall. And what the navy bean does, it says, hold up, I got your back. I'm gonna make sure that nobody's, trying to come at you in any kind of way. And I protect you or fortify your cells with the things that I have, so that if something was to occur, it'll bounce right off. And this is, I'm not trying, and I'm only explaining it in the surface sense, or I'm not trying to do a whole biochemical breakdown.
Oh, yeah, because we sure don't understand that. We need you.
Yeah, I'm not even trying to do that.
Yeah, we need you to put it in that fine language that we know as the honorable minister. So basically, the navy bean, when it comes to the heart, is holding posts at the door. It's holding posts, making sure ain't nobody getting in.
Exactly. And it does that with those essential amino acids I was telling you about, the non-essential amino acids that you find in food. It uses that. It uses some of the other chemicals called, and I'm just going to say, just for the sake of what they are, secondary metabolites. So these are just the extra chemicals that the navy bean has to help fight off disease.
Two questions. And before I get that, shout out to Supreme Third Eye. I appreciate that support. First question is it, should we be eating the navy beans inside the can, for one? How does the can affect the navy beans if it's inside the can? And then number two, dang, I forgot question number two. Just go with number one. I'll figure out what number two was. So about the cans, inside of the cans, are those good for us as well? Well,
you can eat, the best way when it comes to the metal cans, you store the navy beans in there as they're raw. It's still hard. So like, say if you just pick them up from the farm, that's where you put them, inside those metal cans, to kind of keep them, in storage. Once you go ahead and soak them, and now they're ready to eat, you store them in glass jars. You don't want to store them after they've been cooked and after they've been changed in terms of going from hard to soft. Then you put them in glass jars. So when you see those navy beans in the metal containers in the stores and they sitting in this fluid, don't mess with none of that. Get your navy beans from the farm, or get your navy beans raw, still together. Then you go ahead and process them yourself.
Man, that's amazing how the mind works. You said a word that actually brought the thought right back to my mind. So the second question was, can't the navy bean be tampered with? We know they spraying GMO, they spraying this right here. They spraying all this pesticides and everything like that. Is there a such thing as the navy bean being tampered with, like you got the GMO carrots, you got your GMO watermelon? Is there a certain thing as the navy bean being tampered with, and how do we get around that situation?
Absolutely. So I'm gonna tell you a funny. Well, it's not funny, but it's a short story. When I was at Virginia State University, one of the faculty members there, he was my research advisor, and he was trying to hit his big thing in a lot of students who are studying science and need to write grants for research. A lot of times you'll find you get more money when you're working on something related to GMOs. That's how the government setup is situated when it comes to scientific research. One of the things they really like is that GMO stuff, because if they find research that's good with GMOs, it's easier for them to help manipulate how you eat and how you function. So they wanted me, and I was so gung-ho on the Navy bean, they wanted me to just, okay, stop what you're doing and help us develop a GMO version of the Navy bean. And people don't realize this. A lot of people eat the Navy bean more than we think. The Navy bean is not, exclusive to the Nation of Islam. The Navy bean was found to have health benefits back when Daniel was helping to protect his followers in the prison of Nebuchadnezzar. It's not a Nation of Islam exclusive crop, but we're known for eating it. We're known for doing things with it. But back to the GMO, they asked me to develop a GMO version of the bean, and I said no. I didn't want to go down that path. And I barely wanted to help them with their research, So there are cases where some scientists have been experimenting with developing GMOs with the Navy bean, but one of the beautiful things about the Navy bean is that it's hard to tamper with it on a genetic level. When I say a genetic level, GMOs, genetically modified organisms, how they modify it is by going into the genes, going into the DNA. And just to kind of give you a breakdown, the genes are the building blocks or the information codes inside your DNA. And when they can tamper with that, when you go into the genes, you're controlling how anything functions. If I was to go ahead and take your cells, Brother Ben, in the lab and isolate your DNA and mess around with your genes, and then take that altered gene and put it back into your blood cells and give it right back to you, you have a different function. You'll have a different way of going, about what you do. So yes, there have been different cases where they've tried to do it. They weren't successful with it. There have been cases where they would create a GMO version, but it could no longer be classified as a Navy bean. Whereas if I was to do that with a pineapple, it's still genetically a pineapple, but it's close enough so that it matches the original product. Whereas if you were to do it with the Navy bean, it's too far off. So that's why when someone told me, and I'm not going to say it's true, but it sounds like it has a lot of validity with it, that the messenger said in one of his table talks that the Navy bean was blessed 7 times. And if you look into How to Live, the devil has 7 different ways of making you into himself. So if you look at that and then look at what the messenger said about the Navy bean goes hand in hand with human life, human endeavor. So it's hard as a scientist to manipulate that being for wicked purposes because it's so divinely protected.
So, man, that's some heavy stuff, boy. If you ain't eating no bean soup tomorrow, boy, or making some. Now let's talk about another part of the preparation, because there was a brother who didn't know that you were supposed to soak them, or he soaked it too long. He said, "Man, my whole house stink, man." So talk about how they're supposed to be prepared before they're eaten.
Absolutely. So you soak them overnight. So it's not you don't wait 2-3 days, 24 hours. You soak them overnight. So you soak them. Say you soak them at 7 o'clock, and then you turn around and you come back in the morning. When you wake up, they should be ready to go and start cooking. Now, I did experiment one time with the navy beans, and I let them soak for a week. And yes, that smell is horrendous.
Ooh.
I never, I would never. When I see the trash trucks coming by, that don't bother me no more after that. So the beans can let off a very, very powerful smell when altered in a certain way. So just, that the process of soaking them is just to help reduce the gas that comes from the bean. Now, gas is good for you. Gas helps, maintain your gut flora and the environment inside your gut. So having gas is good, but the soaking mechanism helps to reduce how much of that you have. So it's an interesting process.
Man, I could only imagine what that smelled like. Boy, my wife did it for about maybe 2 days or extra two, man. Shoot, boy, that had the whole house stinking, man.
Imagine,
Golly.
imagine a week and you
Woo.
smell that for 2 days. You take and I had mine soaked. I didn't have I didn't have the container open. Mine was closed. So when I opened it, it was over. you know. So
So
yeah,
let's talk about some of these solutions that you've been working on. Some of the products, if you can. What
yeah,
products are you looking to develop and eventually launch, and what are going to be the benefits?
definitely. So the flagship product is definitely the Navy bean enzyme I put together. It's called Navy 19. It's currently trademarked. The name is trademarked, and we're currently that's pretty much going to be the flagship product. And then the other products I've developed for diabetes, respiratory tract infections, uh, human hormone diseases like thyroid conditions and stuff like that. Those are coming down the pipeline. But in terms of the product that'll be ready to go next month, that Navy bean enzyme product that's going to help with different types of circulatory issues like blood clots and plaque buildup, that's going to be the main product that's coming out.
And where can they find your website? Do you have like a waiting list? How can they get involved?
Right. So we don't have a waiting list yet. What we're doing right now is making sure that the product is good first before we put together any waiting lists. Now, in terms of how they can find out more information about what we do, they can go to Original Man Scientific. Our website is OMANSCI.com. That's OMANSCI.com. You can find out more information about it. On social media, you can find the Instagram page of Original Man Scientific at OMANSCI_. That's OMANSCI_.
And man, what closing words do you have, man? Is there anything that we missed? Is there anything you want to leave them with about the Navy bean or anything else?
Yes, sir. Well, I just want to just talk about Original Man Scientific for a minute. For those who are not sure what that is, Original Man Scientific is a research and development company that my friend and I, Brother Jabril Muhammad out of Philadelphia, that we currently operate. And it's a company designed to help scientists and engineers, or help anybody that has a scientific or technological idea develop that idea. So we focus heavy on invention, innovation, research, development, and we want to help you reimagine what it's like to do what Dr. Lonnie Johnson did with the Super Soaker water gun, or do what the little brother out of I think it's California with the Safe Touch Pro. We want to help you do. We want to help you do things like that. We want to help you take your creativity from your mind, because you don't own a thought, but what we do is we help take that thought and bring it to life.
So what you saying is, so this is outside of food, right? This can be any invention.
Any invention. So if you have we mainly focus on scientific inventions like a microchip or a biologic or something like that. But we mainly help. What we do is we use science as a start to help develop any invention. So if you have an invention for sunglasses then I'm just giving you an example, that can see through solid objects, stuff like that. So it doesn't matter what it is. We help you take it from the idea all the way to a patentable product that you can eventually put on the market and build an entire legacy for yourself and your family.
Wow. Well, shoot, I'm definitely gonna be reaching out to you.
Oh, please do.
I've had some ideas, man. I had an idea one time, man. Somebody done probably already got it, so I just said instead of ironing your clothes, you put it in like this little machine and you press it down and shoot in about 5 minutes. You just lift it up and you got your clothes already done. You ain't got to worry about ironing.
But I tell you what, here's the beauty of R&D. Somebody probably already has that idea, but the cool part about R&D is that in the process of developing that product, you can pinpoint what things are unique to your product. So that it may be something that person hasn't thought about, but the idea may be the same, but the function and the things that you can do with that product may be different. And we also have an invention program, invention workshops coming up on September, from September 19th to November 14th. Every Saturday, we take young people between the ages of 18 and we show them this process and show them how to invent things and innovate.
Cool. And so for people who already got some ideas about how much cash, we know you're gonna have to have some money. How much money are they gonna have to have, for your average invention? Now, before you get there, I have seen on Shark Tank, which blows my mind. Some of these people be having, and they say, well, how much is your expense? They be like, oh, $4. I'm like, how are you building something like this? And the thing is $4. I'm talking about $8, $2. I'm like, wow. So how much money do you think a person needs to have if they even think about inventing something?
Yes, sir. So in terms of an invention, one of the things you got to look at is what industry that invention serves and how that invention, how you see the invention functioning. So every budget for any invention all depends on the product itself. So that's why I can't give you a ballpark price right now. I would actually have to sit down with you and see what your invention does, how it works, what market it'll be used for, and such and such. And then we put together, we make sure, first and foremost, of course, we want to see if you have a budget. See how much you're willing to put up or spend for your project. And then we have a process in place where we can help you with that as well, and getting more of the funds to do a prototype or manufacturing or what have you. And then we can actually sit down and, okay, this is how much this is going to cost. This is how much it's going to, how long it's going to take, and so forth.
Yeah, man, I think I'm going to come out with I want to do a digital book. And on this digital book, you got a book in your hand, right? And so in this book, it'll have like the minister videos. And so for people who don't like to read, if you say, hey, man, I want to learn about Jesus. So what happens is you got the book and you click on the chapter and the book opens and it goes to like a whole chapter on Jesus. But instead of you having to read it, it's all little small clips of him talking about Jesus. So instead of you reading the book, you got the book in your hand, but it's a whole bunch of clips made and all you got to do is watch it. How much about you think something like that can be done?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. That's definitely something that can be done. I had a brother reach out to me when I was still living in Atlanta about something like that. It wasn't as interactive as that, nowhere near as interactive. But I think definitely with technology out today, we can definitely help you put something like that.
Well, man, and for those who want to do that, they go to oldmansci.com to get in contact with y'all.
Absolutely, oldmansci.com, and we can just give us fill out one of our contact forms on the contact page, and we'll definitely get back to you as soon as we can.
Well, all right, brother, man. I thank you for all the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding that you've brought to us today. I mean, I think for those of us who don't know nothing about science, I think we know exactly what the Navy bean do with the heart. It holds post for the heart. And the Navy bean, it grab them by the neck with that diabetes. So we got that down. So I thank you, brother, for your knowledge and all of the research and time that you put in to gather this knowledge and bring it back to the community. Look forward to bringing you back.
Oh, praise to Allah. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Man, I think we got that thing down, man. Hey, man, press one if y'all about my interactive book. I'm for real. I said, man, I will read a book like that. I mean, I'll read that thing because all you got to do is watch it. I know I'm not the only one who be like, man, I sure wish when you think about a certain thing, you just wish you can go right to that exact clip of the minister. Man, if y'all buy that book personally, it's gonna be expensive now. You know, it's gonna be expensive. But man, I think that'll be valuable for you to say, okay, economics, boom, and then the book, it's just a bunch of little clip that you can read. So you always carrying your book, but you carrying videos with you at the same time. Man, that thing could be lit, man. Ooh, that'll be lit. It's like you're having your daily bread. You wake up in the morning. You say, man, I'm depressed today. You go to chapter depressed, or you go to your index and click on, or you go to depressed, and then you open up the book, and then boom, the minister's talking about depression. Ooh, you going through domestic violence. You hit domestic violence, you open up the book, there go a video of the minister talking about domestic, but it's a book though. I said, ooh, oh yeah, man, that'll be a fire book, boy. That's gonna be a fire book. I'm gonna hit him up. I'm going to hit him up, man. I'm going to see what we can do with that. I think that'll be cold-blooded right there. So, man, listen, man, y'all follow the brothers, man. Check out their website, and I hope you all share this video with your friends and family. Give me a like button. I mean, give me a little like on YouTube so this video can get out to as many people as possible. We got about 247 people watching this on YouTube and Facebook combined. Just share it with your friends and family, man. You know you got somebody. You got somebody that's dealing with heart disease. You got somebody who got diabetes. Just share this video out. It probably can save their life with these life-giving teachings that we got from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and, of course, Master Fard Muhammad. So I thank you all for listening. I hope you all have a blacktastic rest of the day. Assalamu alaikum. Peace.